Over 1 million cinema lovers have already subscribed to Film Companion. What are you waiting for? Hit the bell icon and join our film family.
83 is a film I wanted in the theaters. So I have absolutely no regrets because we are committed that even till 2 theaters are open, we're going to be in the theaters. Kapil sir, when, I think on the fourth day, when being like, okay, it's going to be difficult to, in a certain sense, fight back, in terms of sales. And he said that, but Kabir, he said, you've already got your World Cup. This film that you've made is your World Cup. He said, when we won the World Cup 38 years ago, we didn't get money, we got respect.
Hi, Kabir. It's so lovely to see you.
Thank you, Anupama.
First of all, Kabir, I want to tell you how much I enjoyed 83. And I am not a cricket lover. I'm not a cricket watcher, but you made me into one. I was crying. I mean, just a lot of crying. I was cheering. I saw the film in this packed theater, and the collective experience was just a sense of euphoria. People were like, just really, really, it was that thing that we go to theaters for.
Correct. Yeah.
Kabir, which is why I'm so confounded by what has happened in the last 3 weeks. And you have said, and I think it's very, very just sorted of you to say that this is not a time to speak about numbers. And I absolutely respect that. But I want you to tell me how you processed what's happened with the film, the highs, the lows, everything.
So yeah, Anupama, I think as you mentioned, the highs were immense because the reaction that this film got from anybody who ventured into the theaters was unbelievable. I can easily say that at least both Ranveer and I, we talk about it and said we've never experienced this kind of euphoric response to any of our films. It's truly been people, it's not one of those usual people messaging you and saying, enjoyed the film, congratulations, had a good time. It's just people are having like an emotional catharsis. They're sending 2-page messages. And that the whole, I think, experience of viewing it as a community, sitting inside a hall, which is what we aimed for. We wanted to convert the theaters into stadiums, when you watch this film. Is something that I think I'm really happy that we achieved, because you're right, the number of videos that I get from people in theaters, showing me people are running up and down, cheering, crying, waving flags for a match that everybody knows what the outcome was. Yet they're sort of cheering on as if they're watching a live match. There's a lot of people said that for us, it was like we were watching a live match despite knowing what the outcome was. So that's been truly humbling. That's been, something that I think I will never forget. The kind of response that and the love and appreciation that I got. But at the same time, the timing of it, the eruption of the third wave of the COVID has definitely, been a bit of a disappointment for us, because we held on to the film for so long, so that we could bring it out to the theaters and get the kind of response that I was talking about. But obviously, you can't really time it with this. And even though we tried our best, it was impossible for us to predict that the day we release will be the first sort of explosion in the numbers. It went up to 6,000. 2 states decided to go into night curfews the day of our release. By the second day of our release, there were 6 states in night curfew, cancelling our night shows, which are, as you know, the most in terms of occupancy, the highest shows. By day 4, one of the biggest territories, Delhi, shut down all theaters. In 6 days, another 3 states shut down. So, it just went on and on. Every day you would wake up and say, okay, this one has gone into night curfew, this one has shut down, this one has come down to 50%, the state has come down to 33%. But I guess, as I said before, in when you're in the middle of a pandemic and you're in the middle of this sort of historic third wave, I don't want to now sound petty, saying that, oh, now, my theaters have been shut down. There's a lot of suffering going on out there, much more than just the watching of a film or the lack of the access to watch a film. So I said, I'll only take the good from this, and the good has been tremendous. As I said, it's a film that's got an unbelievable response. Even till date, people are watching it. I'm in Dubai, and it's going pretty good here in Dubai, despite the third wave, and I get messages and videos from people every day. So I'm just sticking to the good for now.
Good for you. That's a wonderful way to handle it. But Kabir, is there any part of you that wished you had gone to streaming?
No, really, honestly, because because of the, in your opening remark, Anupama, you mentioned the experience you went through in the theaters.
Yeah.
So I'm saying, yes, not as many people as we would have liked have had access to the theaters. As I said, in Delhi, they got was a three-day run, and they could not watch the thing. But I'm saying, whoever could go, it's a lasting impression on them. It is truly something that they're writing about, and it's not it doesn't seem like it's just a great time in the theaters. It's something that they said we will always remember as a family the experience that we went through while watching this film in the theater. So I'm saying absolutely. Now, see, ultimately it will come on OTT, so there's nothing to lose. Yes, you might have safeguarded yourself against certain costs and got some money and all, but I really believe we've been in this industry for long to know that a film is never judged by the money. A film is judged by the experience you have, and how much will you remember that film 10 years from now. So I was very clear that no, the 83 is a film I wanted in the theaters. So I have absolutely no regrets. I'm really glad that for the, at least, and internationally, for example, it's doing well. So a lot of people are watching it and experiencing it in theaters because the restrictions are less, right? The restrictions are far more in our country right now. So yeah, I'm really glad that we brought it out into the theaters. And of course, as and when the theatrical run ends, because we are committed that even till 2 theaters are open, we're going to be in the theaters. And after that, of course, people who have not been able to access the film will watch it on OTT.
So, Kabir, what was the most memorable response? What's one that you'll just keep in your heart?
There have been so many, Anupama, but people from within the industry, people who are not really connected to films or cricket, and there've been several. But I think if you were to ask me one, then I would mention one of my friends. She wrote that when she saw the film, she said, I'm not one of those who did not like cricket. I'm one of those who hated cricket, to the extent that when the TV was put on in our house, I would scream and cry and get upset and go to my room, not watch it. And she said that night when I was watching your film, it was a life-altering moment for me, because I suddenly thought to myself, if this is the emotion that sports or cricket can evoke, did I miss out on a large part of my life? Did I miss out on something which could have been very enriching for me? And that, honestly, when I read that, it got I got tears in my eyes, because it was just such a incredible. I think, as I said, such an incredible emotional connect that people are having. And of course, there's so many more. I've had calls from people who've gone on, and they've been crying on the phone after watching the film. So there's just too many to mention. It has been quite an overwhelming experience in terms of the response that I've got from people who went to watch the film.
But Kabir, you talked about there being an agenda with which the trade has reported figures of 83. What did you mean?
No, so I didn't say that there is an agenda. I said that if you report the figures of a film, which is the last film standing, no other film post that release, they all pushed away. A film which from day 1 to sort of day 6, 7 went from 6,000 cases to over lakh cases. Half the theaters are shut down, and you report figures of that film without even a reference to context of the pandemic, then it seems like an agenda. It seems unprofessional, and it seems untrue to their profession. Because how can you do that? How can you not put a reference to what is happening? You can't just say, oh, this is the number and it's not good enough. But this is a number in what context?
Right.
And the fact of the matter is that despite all that is happening, we've still gone past the 100 crore mark in India. We are closing to 200 internationally. I mean, I said, I don't want to talk numbers because there's no point, because there's hardly any sort of, most of the big markets are running at half capacity, 1/3 capacity. Some of the big markets are completely shut down, and even where it is running at half capacity, we know the fear that is there. I know friends who have been messaging me and saying, "I'm really sorry, but we wanted to go, but we're not being able to, get ourselves to go because of various reasons, whether because they might have children or they have elderly at home." So in the middle of all this, I'm saying, is it really the numbers that you're going to be looking at and reporting it, and that to reporting it without any context of the pandemic? That just seems a little bizarre to me.
Kabir, I was writing a column about the sort of the success of the Hindi dub of Pushpa, right? And I talked to a bunch of people, and they were saying to me that this sort of multi-genre, pan-India, mass entertainer is something that Bollywood, the Hindi film industry, isn't really doing anymore. And it's a question of supply and demand. And if we're not doing it, somebody else will fill that demand. Do you think it's true that we're not actually making those larger than life pan-India films anymore?
So I think it's Pushpa, of course, is a film that has worked all across India and it's done really well, and it's it's being described as that one rare pan India film. But having said that, I don't think Bollywood is not making it. Of course we are making it. Any film that does a certain number at the end of the day is a pan India number. Now you can't take the example of one film and say this formula or this style is the only thing that will work. Over the last 5-6 years, we have had films which have not really been that formula. They have worked, right? They've been very sort of, what should I say, in a certain sense, the antithesis of the formula. Dangal, for example, is a pan-India film, right? Yeah. My own Bajrangi Bhaijaan 5 years ago is a pan-India film. It's not like, and so I'm saying it's not that Bollywood is not making it. Maybe what these people or these analysts were talking about is are saying that we're not doing as many as maybe the industry from the south is doing. Maybe the industry from the south is being able to create many more films that are, and I think especially post the spectacular success of Bahubali, all eyes have been on the South Indian industry, and the South Indian stars are being accepted by the audiences in the north. Pushpa being a recent example. So I'm saying yes, maybe the Bombay industry is not doing as much as the South industry, but I wouldn't say that they're not doing it at all. I think there is a certain segmentation of aesthetics and sensibilities that is there in Bollywood, and sometimes the ones that don't subscribe to the formula also work in a big pan-Indian way.
Sure. But Kabir, you've of course made massive blockbusters yourself. These pan-India, like you said, Bajrangi Bhaijaan, Ek Tha Tiger, right? Is that something you see yourself revisiting, those kind of larger than life films in a sense, or has 83 kind of made you hungry for this kind of more realistic probably isn't the right word, but sort of closer to life, dramas?
So, I honestly just react to stories, Anupama, and if the stories excite me, then I believe that the story itself dictates its own treatment. Right. So I would still sort of, approach cinema with my gut instinct. If I hear a story, like when I'm working on a Bajrangi Bhaijaan, I know that Bajrangi Bhaijaan will have to need a fairy tale-ish treatment. Correct. I will have to give it a fairy tale-ish treatment. Otherwise, if I start questioning the logic of a lot of things, and the entire climax, for example, would probably be questioned. But at the same time, when I'm doing 83. I know that in 83, I have to be very, very true to the facts because it's recent history. It's an event that people remember and recognize. So I will actually get the extra brownie points for being able to be very true to, and which is what has happened. The people who have appreciated the film have appreciated the attention to detail and said that, oh my God, how close and how true you were to everything that happened. So I don't think I would say I'm going to go with a certain genre, a certain style. I would still get excited by a story, and then I will decide what kind of treatment that story needs. Does it need a treatment like Bajrangi? Does it need a treatment like an Ek Tha Tiger? Or does it need a treatment like 83?
So right now, what are you excited by?
I am excited by a couple of stories, but they're very they're in their nascent stages. They're not something which has been fully worked out. So I've been working on 2-3 ideas. And it's only once sort of in my own mind, I feel, okay, this is a story that I would be excited enough to live with for the next 2 years and make the film, because that's really important. You need to live with that story for 2 years. You need to be super excited and super passionate about it for 2 years when you're making a film. So therefore, you need to be really ready to take that jump. So as of now, I'm still sort of mulling over a couple of ideas. We'll only decide, once I have some more clarity.
Kabir, do you do do you as a director uh, change from film to film? Like, does the cinema, because you live with it, especially an experience like 83, where you've talked so extensively about the way you researched it, about the way you recreated situations almost exactly, so your characters were saying exactly what their real life counterparts had said all those years ago. Does doing a film with that kind of rigor and meticulousness then shift something inside you? Like, do you become a different director for the next one?
Not necessarily, Anupama, because if you see I mean, even in terms of my filmography, I've been very fortunate to have been backed by, several producers where each, well, like from a Kabul Express to a New York to a Tiger, for example, all of them being successful, was a very drastic change in terms of the way they were approached and the way they were put together. But as I said, the success or the sort of a film not being so successful will never sort of make me decide what to do next. It'll always be a story, because that's the way I've done it, right? I've always gone by my gut instinct, and sometimes it's worked, sometimes it's not worked. But if I start straying away from that, I think then I can go completely wrong. So I will always approach it, as I said, by just this one liner needs to excite you. It's just that one line about an idea, and you say, oh my God, I think I really want to explore this. And then you start exploring it. So I don't think as a director, I would change. The approach for a film, of course, changes. Like, as you mentioned, there is a certain approach for a film like Bajrangi or a Tiger or a Phantom versus, an approach for an 83. Like 83 will actually be very similar in approach to my web series Forgotten Army, where there would be more of my sort of documentary training that would come into use. There's a certain rigor and discipline of research that you have in documentaries, and I would apply those to those projects. If it's a if it's a true story, if you're recreating something that happened in reality, then obviously I would be very, very careful to recreate everything as credibly as I can. Whereas if it's a little bit of a fairy tale affair, then I would probably have a very different approach to it. It's like, for example, when I was writing Bajrangi, I was so surprised at how 6 songs came so naturally into the screenplay. I've always struggled with songs, and especially lip sync songs. 83 doesn't have a single lip sync song. Again, in 83, if I put a lip sync song, I would have been literally booed out of the theaters. So I think that's what I say, that the story dictates its treatment. It doesn't. I don't think I will approach or in my mind decide this is the treatment that I want to now make next, and then try to retrofit the story.
Kabir, but the way you are talking about taking the good, this film was such a labor of love. You've put in so much into it, and we can see that on screen. I've always heard Vinod say that every film, the cinema gods, every film has a destiny, and that's where it goes. Did you ever have a sort of really down moment in the last 3 weeks, or were you so sort of emboldened by your own film that you have done a damn good job and that's all it is? Are you at that place?
So there are definitely moments of disappointment and despair when, as I said, when you wake up every day and read about one more state going down, one more state sort of shutting down theaters, one more state putting a night curfew. So yes, those are moments of disappointment. But I think I never got to the position of feeling low just for the sheer love that was coming our way. I mean, it was just the whole day you would end up just reading your messages one after another. The reviews that I still have not been able to catch up with the reviews. I've never had any of my films being reviewed the way this film was reviewed. There's just 4 stars and 5 stars, and as well as joke the marketing team was trying to show me, and they were saying that we're not even looking at anything less than 4 stars. So I mean, that's of course their sort of point of view. But I'm saying, so I'm not even able to catch up with that, let alone the thousands of messages, and the calls that have been coming from people, the love that the original team, 1983 team, has been getting, and they have been sending those messages to me, the love that they have been giving to me. Kapil sir, when I think on the 4th day, when Delhi shut down, and it was looking like, okay, it's going to be difficult to, in a certain sense, fight back, in terms of sales. And he said that, but Kabir, he said, you've already got your World Cup. This film that you've made is your World Cup. He said, when we won the World Cup 38 years ago, we didn't get money, we got respect. And it's that, because of that respect, that you made this film on us. He says, what more do you want from what you're getting right now? Forget about the money. It's this is your World Cup, and this will be remembered for as long as, we are being remembered for our World Cup. So I think things like this just keep you going, right? They never let you really slip down, because ultimately, as I said, Anupama, you only remember this about a film years later. You do not remember day 1, day 2, day 3. You remember how the sort of experience that people had, and how long does that film live in the minds of people who saw the film.
Absolutely. And Kabir, what I'm going to remember is crying so much that this is gross, but I had like my nose running within the N95 mask, which became extremely messy. It was not a pretty situation at all. Kabir, thank you so much. And I hope you can share soon what you will be doing next.
For sure. Thank you, Anupama.
Thank you.
Thanks a lot.
Thank you so much.
Hi, guys. This is Kabir Khan. If you like this interview, please subscribe to Film Companion.